Good morning, and welcome to wet Winnipeg. Yep, we got ourselves another cloudy morning going on here. Well, I'm guessing about a couple hours ago I took a short video out the front window of the last of the snow in our yard. Maybe I'll dub it in later. Yeah, there's not much snow in the front yard, and there's just one little drift in the back, and it used to be a huge drift. Do you remember last winter, underneath that drift, a little animal, I think it was a vole, made a nest, or maybe it was a whole family of voles, because it was quite a big nest. Anyway, it was interesting. When the snow melted, here was this thing right in the middle of the backyard. Yeah, I felt kind of bad about raking it up, but I guess the vole was long gone. I didn't see any sign of it anymore. But you could see the little tracks going out where he had been, running around and making little tunnels and in the grass under the snow. Yeah, interesting how they can live, right? And when it gets down to around minus 40, and those little creatures can still live. Anyway, enough about the little creatures. Oh, I saw a rabbit this morning, so at least another rabbit made it through the winter. Now, what are we going to be doing here? I'll recompose, of course. And do you remember? I think it was back when we were doing the Bismarck, when I first got this really good soldering iron, and I was sort of practicing with it and so on. And when I was practicing soldering two pieces of photo etch together, like naturally when you fold a piece together and you're just soldering the seam, this doesn't work. But when you have two pieces like we're going to be doing today, if you put a little bit of solder on both pieces, I found that worked really good. And one of the viewers reminded me yesterday he says, tin both pieces and put them together and then solder. And I thought, yeah, that's right, that did work pretty good. So that's what we're going to do here today. We'll slip the macro lens on and get in nice and close. I have to decide where. There's two different places on here where I can actually solder this thing. One might be slightly more correct than the other, but we'll zoom in and look at it. There's obviously not going to be any sunrise. I didn't check to see if we even had walkers yesterday and today. They'd be pretty soggy. Okay, let's get going here and get ourselves set up with our soldering iron and see if we can solder our little extra antenna array in place. And then I think we are just about done. Everything we can do with one of the turrets, and then the other three I'll do them offline, because no use doing it again online. And besides, it takes me probably, I'm guessing, I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but it probably takes me 5 times at least as long if I video it as if I set up and do it sort of in mass production and do them, 3, one right after the other. Maybe 10 times longer. So we don't want to be doing any videoing it. Oh, I found a good graphic of the Yamato on the internet this morning. It's one of the reasons why I'm late. I was messing around with that and trying to find the rabbit on my surveillance system so I could show you, and I couldn't find it. But it was there. Believe me, I really did see a rabbit. I've heard of people seeing snakes, but no, it wasn't that sort of situation. Anyway, yeah, so I got this graphic of the Yamato, and I'm sort of toying with the idea of making a Yamato mug, just to sort of give me hope, Okay, let's stick on the macro lens and move in here. Okay, I realize that we have been using the macro lens a lot in the last few episodes, but that's because we've been dealing with some really, really tiny stuff here, and the macro lens works the best. I mean, even Tony's tweezers here look gigantic. And so there's two different places I can put this. You can see that little pin sticking out there, and it has to get soldered on. Let's see if I can bend this so I don't block your vision, but maybe I am no matter how I do it. It can either go right there, or it can go back here. And I think, it's probably more believable if it's out here. If it's back here, then this part of the array is going to interfere with whatever this. Maybe this was a different frequency or something. I don't know. Point of interest. I don't think that this thing was actually used back in the 1944, whenever the Iowa was actually launched. I think this was an afterthought, but Trumpeter included it, so I'm going to put it on because it does sort of make it more interesting. Okay, now my plan is to tin this little rod. Okay, we'll do this again. My plan is to tin this little pointy thing, and also tin then this that I'm just touching right now. And hopefully this is going to work. Tinning these ends is going to be okay. Parts is going to be okay. It's going to be making another jig that's going to hold this just exactly like this. But I'll work on it. We'll get it. Now, if I remembered to insert the snapshots that I just took, you will see how I've got this positioned here. And I am wondering if, this is almost ready to come together here. Almost. I'm wondering if I was to put a little dollop of paste right there where that connection is supposed to go, and then just touch it with my soldering iron. Could I kill two birds with one stone? I would in effect be tinning both sides and gluing them together or soldering them together at the same time. This is very, very precarious. The tweezer that's holding the main part is not holding real well. I just gotta get it a little bit closer there, and I'd like to have the smaller arrays pin, or whatever you want to call it, sort of resting in the right place. After we get this soldered together, then I can sort of bend it into shape. That's just about it. Okay, I'm going to give it a try. I'm using the holder downer from the Bismarck days. If I could get this pin that is sticking out on the right hand side of this part right here, if I could get it underneath this push this in just a little bit. Doesn't want to stay like that. Now if it would just stay like that, maybe what I gotta do is I gotta put a little block of wood or something up against this to push it in place like that. I'll find something. Okay, and I'm hoping that this weight is not gonna add reflection that's gonna really spoil things. Let's put it up against it here. There, like that. Okay, that looks good to me. I think that's it. As long as I don't bend it too much when I'm straightening it, it should hold just about just right. That looks like a really good soldering connection. Okay, what I want to do is I want to put the screwdriver in there and then twist it to spread this, because I'm afraid that if I try to grab onto the tweezer to squeeze it, and actually not down here but further up, because this is a self-locking tweezer. Okay, first let me carefully remove this to see if anything's going to start. Nope, everything's fine. Okay, now my hope is to release the grip right there. So very, very carefully here. There we go. We got it. We got it. Now, I was thinking a while ago that these turrets do not have to be put on. I think the manual shows them being dropped down, but I think they're the type of thing that can be placed at the end of the build. So I think once I get these things painted and assembled, we'll put them in a safe place and drop them down, probably even after the easy line for the rigging is done. At least that's the plan right now. So we've got it. I'm looking straight down on it. It's needs a little bit of adjusting here, but it's soldered quite well. Now, you should remember that several times I've mentioned that I would like to have this part here painted the 66 because the turret is going to be the 19. And my thinking at that time was that what I could do maybe is have the this part that I'm trying to turn right side up already glued onto the top of the turret here. Something like this. But I'm wondering now, how would it be if I was to glue CA glue these two pieces together and paint this whole thing the 66, and then later glue this down, and I realized that I'd be making a mess of the 19 that this was painted. But I'm thinking that what if I was to just put the glue right here, and the same on the other side over there, and forget about trying to glue it on these other four posts or pegs. Just leave them loose, and I would think that this should hold it down, especially if I'm very, very careful and don't put these turrets onto the superstructure until after the end of the build. I think that that's the way I'm going to go. I'm just going to CA this part down here to this part right here. Maybe before I do that, I should slightly straighten our antenna, though. It looks just a little bit crooked to me. Okay, I've got our antenna straightened around here about as best as I could. And it's upside down, obviously, and we're going to let gravity be our friend here again. And I think if I was to grab hold of this, let's remove our turret now. Going very, very slowly and very, very carefully here. Trying not to release the grip on my tweezer. I don't quite have it quite right. I might have to grab it just a little bit differently here. So I want to be able to grab it in such a way that I can later drop it down on top of that platform just like that. Okay, now maybe if I was to come in at this angle, I'm just doing a dry run here. because once the CA droplet is in place, it starts to cure. Now it doesn't cure real fast. Now let's just try it. If I was to put this down here, and then come in like this and grab it and pick it up, yeah, I can get it more or less in the right place, and then I should be able to tweak it afterwards. That's the plan. Okay, let's get our CA, not the extra thin quick setting, but the thin. No, wrong glasses. Darn. Okay, let me check the monitor. It almost looks like it should slide a little bit that way. I don't know if it's going to do any sliding anymore now. No, it's actually pretty good. I'm looking straight down on it now. At least it looks square. Yeah, it's going to be okay. It's starting to cure. It's not moving anymore. Okay, now we got to turn that over and get it mounted on a rotating peg so that the whole thing can be sprayed to 66. Looking out my front window this morning, a window which very badly needs to be cleaned from the winter's grit and grime, by the way, I can see that all the snow is gone from my front yard. All the snow except for one little spot. And I imagine that's going to be gone by this evening. Now, why am I not playing the sad violin music right now? Now, I was originally going to mount this on top of one of the turrets and then rotate it around, but unless I was actually to glue it down onto the turret, it kept falling off, so that was the end of that idea. But I think that once we get it sprayed with the 66, all those solder joints are going to be basically hidden. Yeah, I think it's going to be all right. It might take a little bit of bending this way or that way. Mind you, I've got 3 more to go, right? So anyway, I think what I should do here is get at the remaining 3 and try and get them done. I don't know if I'll be able to do them today, but yeah, I can see that thing picking up a signal. Well, I am going to wind her up here today, folks. It's getting late. I got myself a little bit sidetracked. Among other things, I was watching Steve in the model shed. He just had episode number, I think it's 27, on his build of the Bismarck. And it's a real pleasure to watch somebody as talented as Steve, that he actually puts it on YouTube for us to enjoy. He was doing a little bit of soldering too. Yeah, he taped part of his photo etch together and then soldered it while it was taped shut. Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that. Anyway, now mind you, he does have I think it's the Pontos detailing kit for it. So he's got a ton more photo etch to do than I had to do. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. And all being well, we're gonna see you tomorrow.